Nigerian Education Loan Fund, NELFUND, has issued a stern warning to tertiary institutions engaging in deceptive practices within the student loan scheme, threatening legal action against those found culpable. Recent findings by the National Orientation Agency revealed that some institutions, after receiving student loan disbursements directly into their accounts, fail to inform students or reflect the payments in their school fee records. These institutions still demand payment of institutional fees from the same students, creating confusion and financial burdens. NELFUND's Managing Director and Chief Executive Akintunde Sawyer condemned these practices as unethical and a direct violation of the fund's principles. He emphasized that NELFUND's mandate is to alleviate financial burdens on Nigerian students and their families, ensuring no eligible student is denied higher education due to lack of funds. Now, for some persons who are hearing what is happening with NELFUND, they would say, this is not the first time it's happening, because in 1970, when this was introduced, that's in the 70s, when the military introduced this matter of the board, this same thing happened. Corruption and every other thing, to the extent that at that time, what was to happen was if you get the loans, it would take you 20 years to pay back. Yeah. But a lot of people did not pay. But this time around, what we are seeing is quite different. The institutions are now the one, cornering these monies, not informing the students that, oh, these monies have been paid, and so you don't need to pay certain fees in the school. It's sad.
I think the system they are using is what is encouraging that. Get the students themselves to apply for it. You don't send the money to the institution. The
students do.
Yes.
And then the money is sent to the institution. The idea is to check corruption.
That's right. Look, do it direct. Do it direct the way I would want to take a loan from a bank, and I approach the bank and the bank deals with me, not the institution that represents me. So deal with the students direct. That's what obtains in other countries. And you see, when you do that, the student knows that I am the one carrying the burden. I have to pay back, and so on. And then you put measures in place that says if you do not pay when you're supposed to pay, this is what happens to you. I am really against that idea of sending the monies to the institutions. You are opening up doors for corruption.
Really? Etoma, I don't think so, because normally you should even say that it's better to send it to the institution rather than the student. But what is really sad for me is that, and it's shameful, because most of the times we keep complaining about the government, but we ourselves as individuals, you understand that every student deserves education. We also understand how we find ourselves. Some families suffer, to pay school fees for their children. And then institutions will now come together with, financial institutions as well as universities come together to hide this money and still expecting the students to pay back. It is really shameful. And I feel like every institution that is collaborating with the financial institution to do this should definitely be brought to book. Yes. Because every child deserves education. And people do not have money to pay for education. How many families have money to fully pay for their children's education?
You start off by saying that, back in the day, in the 70s, when this was introduced, some people failed to pay back. Maybe those who failed, those who defaulted, are now the ones running the system now in the universities. No, that's the thing, because corruption begets corruption, and they felt that they gamed the system at that time. And yes, we did it back in the day. Why can't we do it now? And you have all these people coming together saying that, yeah, the government is very bad, the government is not doing the right thing. Now this administration is saying, see, we need to make education accessible to the poorest of the poor, especially those who are qualified, so that it will help their parents, it will help the students, and by the time they get back, they pay 10%, over the years, and then they are able to pay back to the government, and they get job. It's not only about education; it's also to help them acquire skills acquisition and all of that. So all of this together, when you see the things we do, that's supposed to be an institution where character and learning is meant to be imparted, inculcated in this students. But you are having the authorities running their affairs, all these institutions in a corrupt way. So that's gross violation of students' rights and abuse of office.
Absolutely.
And one will even say for me, I'll say it's better to give the institution than even to give the students directly, because we know how it can be sometimes. You may give the students and they may not even want to pay the institution. But it's not really sad that the institution that we should look up to is now the ones doing this to the students.
It's an unfortunate matter, frankly speaking, because this is why we see the level of our educational system dropping, because those at the helm who are supposed to inculcate the right character, the right attitude, do the needful, are the ones now championing something as bad as this. Yet they sit in the corner of their homes, you know, just speaking certain words, criticizing government, and then the question comes, who is even the government?
Yeah. We make up the government.
We are the government, and we are the ones doing this to ourselves. If their children were in that school, will they do this to their child? You should have the milk of human kindness running through you, because there are people who are not privileged and who need these resources, yet you sit on it and decide, you know what, we will not inform these students, we'll pocket this money. Will you now say that it's because, oh, the money I'm receiving is not enough for me, and that is why I'm deciding?
That's not enough reason.
Yeah, Veronica, to think that this is just the first phase, that it is meant to stretch for several, different levels and all of that, and then at the beginning, they're already truncated, they're already sabotaging, the effort. So it's so sad. So I feel the government, I believe that the government should handle these people with very strong hand and ensure that justice is done is meted out to them.
Absolutely, because the students deserve justice at the end of the day.